All right, let's discuss the key developments in Nigerian financial markets this year. We'll delve into the impact of the OMO auctions, analyze the relative stability of the FX market, with the NAFEX rate hovering around 1,544 naira to the dollar, and explore the outlook for Sukuk issuances in 2025. Well, joining us for this conversation, we have Akbawero Putu. She's a chief dealer at Lotus Bank. Great to have you on the show. Good morning.
Adi, thank you for having us on the program.
It's great to have you. Compliments of the season. So, I believe yesterday we had an OMO auction. Talk to me about how most of the OMO auctions have impacted liquidity, interest rates in the Nigerian money market. That's throughout 2024. Let's take stock now.
Okay, so like you mentioned yesterday, there was an OMO auction that was issued by the central bank, and we know this is actually done to mop up liquidity from the system. So a total of about 500 billion was issued, and we saw a subscription of over 900 billion, but the sales still remain 500 billion. What is interesting is the rate at which the one-year paper closed at. It closed around 23.95% level, which is really high for investors coming into the market. What that means is that the yield on that 23.95 is about 31%, which is really high when you look at where inflation is at 34.60%. It's really good return for investors, and we've seen that play out throughout the year. We've seen high yield interest rates in the market, so investors are actually looking at good return for their funds. So the alternative when you're not investing in high income security is to buy FX. And like you mentioned, the NAFEX rate is hovering around 1,544 naira to the dollar, which is actually stable compared to where we've been coming into the year. So we've actually seen good rates in the fixed income market trading this period.
Right, so I guess investors almost beat inflation in 2024. That's in the market.
Yes. So like I mentioned, the yield is quite high. It's around 31%, which is very good. And you had one presenter, one guy who was on the program earlier, saying that banks or investors were getting good returns from their investors. And this is actually making people shy from going into the agricultural sector to invest in the real economy. Because if you can actually get 31% yield from your investment, is actually safe for you to put your funds in fixed income securities, and which the banks are actually doing, and investors are actually pricing their deposits towards this yield.
How do you expect the CBN will utilize OMO auctions in 2025, given the current economic outlook, and inflation trends?
Okay, so like we know, OMO auctions are actually used to manage liquidity in the system. So it's going to be a function of liquidity that comes into the market. Coming into the first quarter of 2025, we know that the NTB, about 5.1 trillion, is expected to mature in the first quarter of 2025. We will see the funds actually being rolled over like they've done. We've seen the budget for 2025 about 4.9 trillion, which is way above what we came into 2024 with. The capital expenditure for the federal government is about 14.7 trillion, which is a lot. So we would actually see a lot of auctions in the market, because there's going to be huge borrowing, huge demand, and we will see this rate hover around this above 20% levels. Like I said, it's good return for investors. The central bank is going to continue to try to conduct more OMO auction to manage the liquidity in the system. If you have fewer funds in the market, it means the demand or pressure on the FX market would actually be reduced. So we'll actually see this OMO continuously happen in 2025.
All right, you did mention the FX market earlier. We've seen, stability for the NAFEX rate around about 1,544, and today is the last trading day of 2024. What opportunities are you seeing, in this market, going into 2025?
The central bank has done a lot with the B-match system that it came up with on the 1st of December. We've seen stability in the FX market. The rates have been hovering between 1,530 naira to 1,540, 1,545, which has really been stable, coming from where we were in September and October, where there were a lot of volatility in the market. So we've seen investor confidence in the market right now. There's so much supply. The supply outweighs the demands in the market. So right now, if you come into the market and you're actually looking to fill up your demand, there's a lot of liquidity. And kudos to the central bank with the B-match system that they've come up with. It's created a lot of transparency in the market. We've seen stability in the FX market, and with the budget of the federal government going into 2025 around 1,500 naira to the dollar, we expect to see this come into reality, because we are very close to that mark right now. And the central bank has consistently come into the market as a player to see that we meet customers' demands at every point in time. So it's actually a reality for the market. We'll continue to see the rates appreciate coming into 2025. We hope that 1,500 naira to the dollar is realistic, and I'm hoping that we'll get there.
Yeah, hopefully sub 1.5 today. I'll definitely be looking forward to that. But, given the government's borrowing needs, we've seen the budget for 2025. How likely are we to see Sukuk issuances in 2025?
Okay, with 49 trillion, with a 49 trillion budget, and with about 14 trillion going into capital expenditure, yes, we are positive that we'll see a Sukuk issuance coming into 2025, especially for us in the non-interest banking space. This is where we usually we play largely. We didn't have an auction in 2024. It was a strain to us, because when we have excess liquidity, these are where we deploy our funds into. So we expect that with 2025, we will see borrowing in that space, because the Sukuk bonds are actually for capital projects. So we have a lot of construction coming into the year, and we know the government actually has the infrastructure bond which they've come up with. But we expect that there will also be a Sukuk issuance in 2025. So the non-interest banking space and other investors, it's not just for non-interest bank, even the conventional banks, they actually play in those space. So we expect that in 2025 there will be an issuance. Last auction, which was in 2023, was over 350 billion. So I'm expecting trillions on the Sukuk issuance coming into 2025. And
with the expectations of trillions, what are the potential benefits and challenges of increased Sukuk issuance for the Nigerian capital market?
So for the last auction, which happened in 2023, the rates for the 10-year paper was around 15.75%, which is quite low when you compare it to what the conventional bonds and the federal government bonds are actually trading around 22% levels on the 2031 bond. So if there's going to be a new issuance in Sukuk, whatever the tenor is, we expect that the rates will go around 20% levels or higher than that, because the investors we see playing in the Sukuk market and in the conventional banking space are actually the same investors, and they actually expect the same level of return on their investment. So we expect to see higher yields coming into 2025 in the Sukuk issuance space, which will be very good for non-interest bank, because then we get to deploy our excess liquidity into that space. We get good returns on our investment. We don't have a lot of opportunities of placing funds, our excess in the interbank market. So holding these securities and investing in real capital projects is actually good for us and the economy at large.
Right. Thank you so much. That was Akpare Oputu, Chief Dealer at Lotus Bank. Thank you for sharing 2024 with us, and I'll see you in 2025.
Thank you, Ladi.